Good evening, gentlemen. I'm here with Josh and Mike from Talk Time with Josh and Mike, local podcast. Gotta support them. So excited to have you guys here.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, what's
Thanks
going
for
on,
having
man?
us. Yeah.
Not much. Super stoked to talk to y'all today. Definitely wanted to start it all off with you guys talking about what your first podcast entailed. What did y'all cover?
Well, we kind of just went over the whole topic, I guess, for that one was we just went over kind of the local stuff happening through Denison and Sherman. Just kind of, all the cool stuff happening in the amazing local places, got awesome places around town.
How we just kind of felt about where the future of this area is, and local big business and all that.
Yeah, because lots is happening. Obviously, we got the pending tide from DFW. You could probably see it from here if you were to pull out your telescope.
Yeah.
I mean, it is getting colossal. It's headed this way. Things are growing. What implications do y'all think that'll have for the area? I mean, because it's got pros and cons, right?
Right, definitely good and bad. Bad things, because I mean, good things. Lots of great local places, but then just kind of some big businesses popping up. But
it's tough, right? Because those big businesses, they're great. They're familiar. Oftentimes, the big corporate outlets. But I love this town for all the small, one-off, eclectic,
the unique stuff.
Yeah, the unique stuff.
The stuff you wouldn't see somewhere else.
So hopefully we can strike a balance. And
Oh yeah.
I'm optimistic about it. I do think that this area will stabilize and really blossom to something special.
You want the growth, but you also want that uniqueness that
Exactly. Just keep the flair.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll really put things on the map. People can say, "Oh yeah, Sherman
like
and
Star
Denison."
Wars." There's a battle between two forces, and you want it balanced.
Hey,
So
got
there you
to.
go.
Yeah, gotta have the balance.
So it's all about balance. So
I definitely want to hear what inspired y'all to do this.
yeah. So that one's. I think that's pretty easy to answer. You want to answer that, or I can answer that?
I
I
mean,
feel like I've been talking a little bit already.
Got the traction, exactly. You already got the wheels, got the traction.
Yeah.
I definitely just about a month or so ago, we had just kind of were live stream on Instagram, and we had just kind of thought, wow, this was pretty good. We had some viewers that were watching. They kind of liked
feedback.
it too.
Yeah, good feedback.
So we thought, wow, why don't we just start up a podcast? It'd be kind of a fun experience.
If people want to already hear us talk, then why not just
Yeah.
do more of what we were already doing, which was live streaming and talking about things. So
Plus, it'd be fun, and kind of meet new people.
give us something to do too,
And just
meet people, cover whatever we want to cover,
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I've met a ton of people.
Yeah.
Just in my short time of having, done the 903 Derby podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible the access you get to different worlds. I've talked with a fashion designer, an author, photographer, folks who play in bands, big name magician, famous to the area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are absolutely right. And, like you were saying earlier, Mike, I mean, it's just talking, right? You're just talking.
Right.
Whatever you want. Your podcast, your rules, I guess, right?
Literally my favorite thing to do. So it's interesting. But I do think that podcasting does more than just that. And I figured I'd get y'all's impressions on it too. I think it provides a portal, a genuine portal that you wouldn't get from a production that's sort of interview-based.
Yeah.
Interview-based production is going to cover an angle.
Yeah.
It's going to say, okay.
This way you can actually reach people and do community work and just, I guess community outreach in a way. Like, that's not necessarily our goal, but you can if you wanted to.
Yeah.
It gives them a platform,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. It opens
speak.
that next level, just kind of the door to walk in,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the one we've only done like one episode at this point.
Yeah.
But we just kind of said in that one that, it's going to try to be a different topic each time. So this last one was more over just kind of
what's going on in the town, the local stuff,
but the
all
next
the local
time
businesses.
could be anything.
Yeah. So whatever we want to talk about, we don't have a set schedule or anything or set topic. We want every episode to be unique and different and have substance, but there's no set theme for the podcast. So that's kind of where we're at with that podcast right now. So
makes sense. Keep the doors open. Sort of to allow
open-minded.
anybody in.
Yeah, we're open-minded.
Yeah, allow anybody in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's the way to go, I think. And I think podcasting as well lends itself very well to that, because you could have people of opposing views get together and have civil discourse, essentially, over whatever issue or whatever
topic or
matters on hand. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So I think it's the way of the future, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all have any inspirations, but for me, I love the Jocko Willink podcast. I like the Joe Rogan Experience.
I love Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, dude.
I listen to a podcast called MXU, and it's a mixing podcast for audio engineers. And
Ooh, that's going to be interesting, because you're getting some in-depth
so
sort of
some they
info.
do tutorials you can listen in on and watch, and some they do like interviews with other audio engineers and just a bunch of different, all sound-related things. So really, really great podcast. Just stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I watch a guy named Rick Beato. He does music lessons and just music stuff in general, you know. So there's definitely some good stuff out there. You just got to find it.
Yeah,
I think, years ago, there wasn't that sort of platform for something as specific as that. So it is interesting that you shared that.
Yeah.
Definitely lots of great podcasts that even I've watched. Most of the time I just watch like the H3 podcast. I don't know if y'all have watched it.
Absolutely.
I've never watched it.
It's more of kind of like a comedy kind of deal.
Nice.
But they go over just kind of news going on, or a lot of like YouTube beef and stuff like that.
Yeah, lots of juicy social commentary.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of
Nice.
that podcast. And they tend to be pretty honest as far as their takes and everything like that. And,
Yeah.
they're sort of open to criticism and feedback as well, which I think is always important.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's always important. Obviously we all have our faults, and we try and formulate the best possible argument. Let's say in their particular context is they're going after, exactly, they're trying to go after social commentary and sort of rectifying some of the wrongs that they might perceive. Obviously sometimes you make an argument and you might have a couple holes, you want to patch it up, and sometimes actually, from what I can tell, if you have very strong opposition, it strengthens your game, right? I don't know if y'all ever had that when you're debating a topic and you talk with somebody who's adamantly opposed to your particular view and has very strong evidence to back it. You think, wow, well, you know what? I better tighten up my sources. I better level up here, because otherwise, what am I really believing here?
Yeah. Exactly. I've thought about that so many times. That you nailed it on the head. Not to an extent where like, oh, I think I'm believing in the wrong thing or whatever. But I've gone back and thought, well, what am I missing that they got across clearly that I like? What did I miss? Yeah. I've thought about it. Like I've been like, just I've never necessarily reconsidered completely like changing my thought on something or my thoughts on something, but perspective is key, because I won't get into it, but me and my buddy were talking about a specific U.S. law, and I was on one side and he was on the other, and I was like, well, I never really thought about that, So perspective for sure. I totally get that.
Yeah, it's good to kind of just see the different perspectives and kind of see things from different points of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes instead of having, making straw men and these easily defeatable opposing forces in your head, it's better to go against somebody who's going to challenge you.
Yeah.
And make you, like you said, it's not that you're going to somehow abandon, although you could. Maybe perhaps that other person will provide a viewpoint you never saw and never thought possible, and you'll say, well, you know what? I'm no longer tethered to this idea. I'm
exactly.
Right.
The cool thing is, too, is some topics you may have never even thought about. Like someone will say, how do you feel about this? And you're like, I never thought about it, so I'm pretty neutral, And I don't know if you guys have ever been in that situation.
Oh, all the time. When it comes to politics, when it comes to any sort of discussions of religion, I think, okay, I'm learning. I'm going to be dead honest. I'm still learning about it, before I make a stand on anything. Exactly. Otherwise, just conjecture. And what use does conjecture have in the marketplace of ideas? Probably not much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's, for sure. Perspective is everything.
Yeah, I think it's great to, just kind of see different points of view and all that, instead of criticize the fact that, oh, I think they're wrong just because... I don't believe that.
Yeah.
That's you're crazy or something, And
I think it's a normal thing, right? I think it's a normal human tendency to sort of it's a primal thing. To sort of battle out, and someone attacks you, and you're prepping the cannon, and you want to launch one right back at them, and
Right.
Sometimes you lose sight that you need to zoom out and go, okay, wait. So this discussion that we're having,
You can disagree and be civil.
I mean, you can be civil.
Right.
You can be civil. And the discussion that
And
you're
still
having, there's a
respectful.
greater good. You know what I mean? Like, there's a
Yeah.
greater good to the discussion.
Exactly.
There's a greater good to Republicans and Democrats bouncing ideas off of each other because they both represent opposite ends of a spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe by them bouncing ideas off of each other, you might end up somewhere in the middle, the happy medium, so to speak.
Exactly. You know, and I won't get too political, but it's like perspective, because I know some people that are hardcore conservative, and no matter what the politicians' viewpoints are, if they're a conservative politician, hey, I'm going to vote for them because I'm conservative. But sometimes you say, well, let me take a look, at what they believe in, or
Yeah, 'cause
whatever.
sometimes that's all it takes, right?
Yeah.
You might say, you know what? I'm affiliated with this party. I'm running with that. But you're right. If you start looking at it, you go, well, maybe I should actually zoom out here and what's the greater good?
Yeah.
Is the greater good going with the opposite side on this one? Maybe I'll have to do that.
Because from a personal standpoint, I would identify as pretty conservative, but there are some liberal, points or standpoints that I, strongly agree with over some conservative points. And I won't go into it, but that's just, an example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're just talking
It's just an example.
generic.
Yeah,
Exactly. We're just talking about sort of the
general.
bones of the
You kind of have to look at both spectrums.
Exactly.
Perspective. Perspectives are everything.
And you are right. There are some folks who are, I do identify as, socially conservative, but or socially liberal.
Yeah.
Financially conservative, financially liberal. So I mean, yeah, it's interesting.
It just depends on
there's
the
that wiggle room, flexibility,
spectrum, yeah.
flexibility.
Kind of just depends.
So there's that. But yeah, you guys are pretty well versed in terms of technology, which is something I'm still working on.
What is this laptop again?
Yes. It's got a great name. It's an Acer. It's called the Aspire One.
Never heard of it.
It's a great name, Aspire. It's like, hey, this is a good start, and someday you may.
How many years? How many years?
6 years. I'll give it that. 6 years. $250. I bought it from Target right off the shelf. No research. I mean, it's hard to complain.
Yeah.
I've got to show it nothing but gratitude because it's still alive.
Gets the job done.
It gets the job done.
Right.
And it goes to show that if you have a will to do something, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important for us, being folks who are sort of bursting into the creative scene to know that.
Willpower over, manpower.
Yeah, or even hardware, right? Because sometimes you think...
Or resources, exactly.
Resources, that's a better word. Because you think, oh, well, maybe someone out there listening has something they've been wanting to do, and they go, oh, but I don't have the resources.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if I'm sticking it out here with a 6-year-old netbook, you can certainly find a way to do better than that. It's not hard to do better than that. So in other words, if this represents the minimum, the cost of entry is not that high.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing as far as that goes. It makes you think of sort of, like a famous soccer player from a tough part of Brazil who, grew up in a rough neighborhood, but still made it happen, even though they didn't have a perfect ball.
The Cinderella story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I totally dig it.
It's the kind of thing that I think sometimes that's all it takes to inspire is to let folks know that, hey, when you're starting off at ground zero, don't worry. Other people are too.
And I don't really believe in the cliche, or stereotyping of, not that I don't. It happens, but I don't think it's cliche to say, oh, it's such a Cinderella story. If you started from nothing and you worked your way up, that's good on you,
Exactly.
I don't think it's too cliche to say something like, oh, it's the perfect story or whatever,
Gotta give credit.
Exactly.
You can't criticize somebody just trying to get a slice of the pie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, there's something to be said about that. I mean, if you have the resources, good for you. Hey, take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody would want. But sometimes the truth is you're going to have to power through some pain.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work extra hours. You're going to have to save extra money. You're going to have to put off things you've been wanting to buy in order to get the equipment you want.
Because some people will have the resources available and some won't.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I won't call it
willpower there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I won't call it privilege or anything like that, but some people have it better, some people don't, and if, like you said, if you can do the best you can with what you have, I think it beats any amount of resource or whatever.
Because you have to think, if you can do well with very little, once you do have more,
What can you do with a lot?
you're going to take advantage.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yep.
Man, speaking of that, like one of my best buddies, he's actually in the Marines, and he says they do that all the time. This is just from him. I don't know personally too much about it, but he just said that the Marines, they don't get like as much funding as the others.
Oh, okay.
So he says most of the time they're working off of low budget, so they've done like great things just off of that too.
Are you talking about Colby?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Nice.
Colby.
Nice.
Yeah, so it just goes to show. It reminds me of something I learned in Autocross. I don't know if y'all happen to be familiar.
Mm-mm.
It's a motorsport. It's a motorsport where a plot of land, let's say a big parking lot, is rented out. Cones are set down, and a track is made.
Like
And
a
people
dirt
race.
track?
It actually happens to be asphalt, concrete, that sort of thing. And so you can get out there with street cars, sports cars.
Oh, so variety.
modified. Yeah, for racing. And they say that the drivers that will learn the fastest are the ones that can get fast in the slower cars. Because if you have yourself a very basic, let's say you start off with a car that's a basic economy car, and it's a front wheel drive, and you push it, and the front tires lose traction very easily. Well, you know that just off of that description, you have to be very precise in all of your inputs, because you can bleed off speed very easily, and you won't be able to recuperate that speed with that same tenacity, right?
Yeah.
So if you get good at being fast in something like that, once you get yourself in some serious machinery, a Porsche, something like a GTR, maybe we don't have to go that extreme. Maybe you can drive something like a, late model Mustang or a modified Mazda Miata, right? Suddenly, the performance envelope is massive, but you've retained that careful attention to detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can better fill in those shoes. So it's an interesting thing.
We were talking about it earlier, that kind of trial and error.
Trial and error, it's true.
It's like the experience, that's the word. The experience you gain, you kind of retain. And
Yeah.
like
Trial and error. How many talented people do y'all think don't come forth and try out of fear of that failure, those initial failures? Because
you're saying people with a lot of potential and talent
that say,
tried once and they probably didn't go where they
Yes.
wanted to be,
Okay.
and then they
Yes.
didn't come back.
how much do you think in the real world would you say has accounted for, greatness being lost just out of fear?
I could totally see it. Big time.
And it's scary, right?
And
Because-
that could lead to anything.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen quite a bit of different people, with that same deal, where they're too scared to kind of go off of kind of building the foundation and all that, just because there's either so much too much work to go
Competition,
off of,
whatever.
or it's just too scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Mike.
No, you're good. But it's like it's just kind of battling the kind of laziness factor / kind of believing in yourself.
Yeah, some people don't even like to push the comfort zone either. You know? If you're satisfied with where you are, but you haven't really reached your goal, then maybe you need to step out of your comfort zone, if that makes sense.
I agree, because
you can be satisfied but not be where you want or need to be.
if you're lazy and you're happy with it, great. Hey, good for you. No one's saying you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to push. You have to do anything that you don't want to.
Yeah.
But if you're lazy and you're feeling like you're falling behind, unfortunately, it looks
That's
like the
on
only
you.
option.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's on you, and the only option is you're gonna have to
Get out of that comfort zone.
get out of that comfort zone.
And that makes me think of Steve Jobs and, Bill Gates.
I like some of his.
Yeah.
Even though they say he was definitely a tough leader.
Yeah.
I definitely like a lot of his.
And
his
they
strategy
all
and such.
started from humble beginnings too, and now they're both billion-dollar corporations.
So I've heard. Yeah.
I think
They've,
Bill Gates started in his garage working on computers,
Yeah,
and
him and,
now Microsoft is one of the biggest computer manufacturers in the world.
him
You
and
know,
a couple
billion-dollar
people.
company.
Yeah. they
And
just-
imagine if he had given up. I'm sure he had trial and error, no matter how smart he was.
That's true. That's true.
Just makes
Yeah.
me think of stuff like that, like the what ifs. Like you said, what is the potential being lost, or if someone failed the first time and they were too scared to go again.
Yeah.
It just makes me think of stuff like that.
They've
'Cause
gone through.
It started with just one computer in a garage.
They've definitely gone through a lot of different trial and error to kind of find out the best formula to, kind of get bigger and grow and, please customers and such to get that kind of following. So it's interesting.
And that
how
goes
they
with
do it.
anything too.
Yeah. I mean, heck, McDonald's, there's a billion of them at this point, but it just started out as one burger joint
in California. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And there was trial and error there too. I know when they tried to franchise other spots in the country, and they were getting shut down left and right, and they stuck with it. And sure enough, one of the leading industries in the food world. So,
yeah, that's something I've heard from the MFCEO podcast, where Andy Frisella talks about the importance of perseverance and how if you just stay in something, you just keep at it, you're going to keep building skills, and the competition is going to gradually thin out because people will they'll leave.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, I'm no longer going to invest any more time in this because the payoff is not coming quick enough. And I think when it comes to projects like the ones we're doing, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And it's going to take effort. And you keep mentioning trial and error, and I couldn't agree more. There are going to be times where you're going to do something and it's going to work great. Sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes you're going to get a trend. Maybe in the future, right, as we grow, we'll see trends. And maybe those trends will fall out of favor. So there's a lot to contend with. And it can be overwhelming. Yeah. But I think there's something to be said about finding comfort in the nobility of embarking on a journey like this versus saying, no, this is too much, and then never trying and always having that burning in the back of your mind.
And there's going to be, it's, again, trial and error. There's going to be times where you try something and it's like, okay, it didn't work. Put it past you, learn from it, but don't dwell on it, move on, Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
it's true, exactly. You can't.
And there's going to be times where you're going to be frustrated. That doesn't mean it's over. You're just in a rough spot. Huh. Learn from that, figure it out, and just move on.
Definitely can make it out of the hardship of it. So it's.
I agree that there. You were talking about learning. I agree that there are teachable moments.
Yeah.
In failure, I'm definitely a big believer in that sort of idea. You fail and you go, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I draw from this so as to avoid this ever happening to me again? Right? Because obviously failure, no one wants to fail.
Yeah.
But it's an inevitable possibility whenever you're trying to do something.
Right.
Yeah. You definitely got to prepare for it.
Yeah, preparation is, Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Preparation is everything too.
That's true.
It's one thing if you have all the stuff, and this kind of preparation, I guess. It's one thing if you've got the resources and you've prepared for that, but you don't know what you're getting into, or vice versa. You know what you want to do, you know what you're getting into, you have the plans laid out, but you have nothing, you have no resources. So preparation is definitely just as big on success or failure, in my opinion. But it kind of goes back to how you were saying, if you can make your $250 laptop work, then what is the possibility when you get like $1,000 laptop or whatever?
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Just kind of goes back to that. So
exactly. Yeah, starting with something small, you maximize that. Once you get a bigger, envelope of capability, so to speak, you can fill that extra gap.
Yeah.
Because you know what you'll need because you've been maxing things out for so long. So, and we're getting close to the time limit here, so I just wanted to see if there was anything y'all wanted to wrap up with.
You got anything, man? I got a few things, but I'll let you go.
Definitely some great points. It's definitely important to just kind of plan for anything bad, possibly to happen. I guess kind of that's how the rainy day fund was made,
Yeah.
Gotta have it.
But yeah, it's lots.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would say if you guys haven't already, check our podcast out, Talk Time with Josh and Michael. It'll be available on iTunes, Spotify, and Google. Is it Google Play? Google Store? The Google Store for Android users, but it'll be available on all major platforms soon. Not yet, but we're working on it, so
very soon.
Definitely check us out.
Much preparation.
Yes, preparation, yup.
So, check us out.
Absolutely, and I'll be sure to link all of that in the description once everything does sort of come into fruition.
Yeah.
So, wanted to thank y'all so much. It's been a blast.
Yes, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do this again sometime.
Awesome.
I'm very much looking forward to it because this time flew by.
Yeah, it's been an awesome time. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Take care.
Thanks.